Welcome back. The cannabis industry is ever growing as more and more states and municipalities decriminalize and legalize the recreational use of marijuana. The Latino Cannabis Association works to guide policy and promote sustainability in marijuana growing and cultivation within the state. And joining us now and sharing more, we've got the Latino Cannabis Association's co-founder, Jeffrey Garcia, and secretary to the board, Indhira Mojica. And we thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And I'll start off first. Larry, we'll start with you to talk a little bit about where we are today, because obviously, as we're seeing this progression that's happening, more and more states are really embracing it. And we do know that there's still disparities when it comes to cannabis being available as a business for people of color.
That is correct. Well, where we are today is obviously the MRTA was passed in 2021, and right now the state is working on its conditional programs. Right now, the conditional hemp farmers are the first ones to start growing cannabis. They're also going to be folks that are going to be manufacturing, meaning where you see the gummies and vapes and pre-rolls and things like that. There is the conditional card program that was just wrapped up in September. That is for the conditional retail licenses, right? The dispensaries that we're going to see, the first ones in New York State. The state right now is going through those applications, and we will soon see legal cannabis sales within the state of New York, with actual dispensaries selling homegrown New York State cannabis. So we're looking forward to that. We understand that, social social equity was a big component of the MRTA, right? Making sure that people that were most impacted were the first to market in this industry. And, even though we're not perfect, I think New York has gotten it right compared to other states, right? We're doing much better when it comes to that. And we want to be a part of that, right? We want to be that voice in our Latino communities to give the folks an open door to get into this industry in a legal way and in an equitable and fair way as well.
Indira, talk to me about the work that's being done behind the scenes. Obviously, social equity is the huge push. We know that for far too long, people in communities of color have been criminalized just for this particular use. But yet and still, when it comes to the legal sale, we find that sometimes it's kind of a hard it's like a hard jump to be able to enter into the business. So give me a little bit about the work that you're doing and your thoughts about this.
So, first, we are participating in a lot of educational forums. We are part of many panels. We have a website that we update with information, and through social media, we try to educate our communities of what's going on. Right now, the most difficult thing is fighting the stigma that's in our communities when it comes to cannabis. So, we're working on changing that. We're trying to teach our communities with information that's already out there, documented about the health and wellness benefits of cannabis, but just most importantly, we're trying to inform people of the economic benefit that is coming with this industry to New York.
Yeah. And as you're doing this right now, I know that there's so many opportunities that are out there for people to really take advantage of in terms of getting connected to resources. Are you satisfied that access is going to be equitable?
Well, access to capital in this industry has always been a big problem in every single state, right? Especially for social equity applicants, right? There are a lot of barriers that are there to protect social equity folks, right, from being used. But those same barriers also can be a hindrance, right, in getting capital. So I think that that's where we come in, and stakeholders come in and have a voice and maybe can inform the Office of Cannabis Management and others, right, on which way to go with this. Because again, we want to make sure we have our fair share. We want to make sure that we have a chance to succeed in this industry. But it's a very, very capital intensive industry. And we need to have um, the finances and the resources to be able to do that. Banking is another issue. That's why we need safe banking at the federal level to pass. We've been working closely with a community bank here in New York, in the Bronx, that started in the Bronx, similar to the way we started the LCA, right? Bronx Bank. They've been a great partner with us to start opening up bank accounts for our members, where banking is a very difficult thing. So, that is one of the ways that obviously the state, the city can really help. I'm part of the New York City's cannabis committee. I was appointed there by the mayor and the SBS commissioner. So we hope that out of those committees, and at least when it comes to the city, we will be doing things that are very equitable for these members once they do get licenses from the state.
Indira, talk to us about this. When we talk about this social equity, it's very important, it's very critical. But yet, and still, as we're looking and trying to break this down with what's happening and what's coming around the corner, a lot of people still are, up in arms about the whole cannabis legislation. What's been done by way of really talking to the public and making them aware and potentially people about where we are today and how things have progressed?
So the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act uh, has a goal. They have committed to a goal of awarding 50% of their licenses to social equity applicants. So we need to take that and we need to run with it and hold them accountable with that. And as the Latino Cannabis Association, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make noise. We're trying to be at all the cannabis events whenever the government is talking about cannabis. We're trying to be present to make sure that we are gathering the resources that we need, the information that we need. So when it's time to submit these applications to be part of this cannabis industry, we are well prepared. We, as in women, minorities, people of color, distressed farmers, veterans, we need to put that voice out there, collect these resources, and make sure that we're ready and take advantage of this opportunity that we're being given. It's an opportunity to create generational wealth, is an opportunity to create profitable businesses, and we just need to be ready to take full advantage.
Yeah. When I think about this, I think about just what you said, generational wealth. There are some great positive advantages for people economically to be able to take part in. I think the tragedy that so many in our community talk about is the fact how people have profited off of our criminalization. And now you're at the place right now where you'll profit off of ownership and the criminalization. People are just now, some are overcoming, and others are still having a hard time dealing with this whole decriminalization.
And to add to that, this industry was built on our backs. So if someone is going to reap the benefits, we should be first in line. So if these businesses are coming into our communities, we should be the owners. If someone's going to hire people to get into this industry, those people should be people like us. So we need to make sure that we stay on top of this and that we control our neighborhoods and our community and we keep the money in our communities.
Larry?
That is correct. If I can piggyback on that, that is a very important topic when it comes to the Latino Cannabis Association. Is making sure that we keep things in our community, and not just for the businesses, and not just for the plant touching part of the business, but also bringing our community in through the ancillary businesses, the contractors, the architects, the lawyers, the engineers, those local folks that a lot of our members already use in their businesses, in their restaurants, in their supermarkets, in their bodegas to do the work, to bring them in, get them MWB qualified, and then use them to build out your businesses and to be part of that generational wealth building within your communities.
Yeah. So, if people want more information, what exactly do they do to stay up to date with this?
So we have our website, which is Latino Cannabis Association.org, and we have a social media also underscore Latino Cannabis. So up there, we constantly post events that we're attending or events that we are hosting, so people can find us on those platforms.
About the public awareness, obviously the goal is to educate the public, to get them to take advantage of the opportunities and to see about the access to resources, and some of which are becoming more and more available uh, because of the advocacy that organizations such as yourself are doing. What are you seeing on your end in terms of a public response by minorities to this?
Well, we have seen a very good response. Again, I think that one of the further the work that we need to do is also get into the weeds. You know, get no pun intended, right? In our communities, making sure those folks that are still in that legacy market to say to them, you know what? Look into let's bring you into the legal form. You've done a great job. You've built a little entrepreneurship within your ecosystem. Now let's make that legitimate. Let's make that so that now this business that you had for some years, you can legitimize it and then eventually, pass it on to other family members, to your kids when they grow up, right? Because again, if it's about generational wealth, it's not just talking about what's going into our pocket, but what's going into our kids and our kids' pockets, right? And I think that that's where we need to be. We also need to educate the public, educate our grandmothers and our aunts and uncles that now this is legal. It's not what they used to see out in the streets back in the day, right? This is gonna be a legalized industry, is a legalized industry, and you're gonna see locations now in your neighborhood and what that's gonna look like.
Yeah.
And to
So
add to that, we're promoting safety because now you're going to be able to go to a dispensary and get what you need from there, and it's going to be tested, it's going to be regulated, it's going to be safe. And I think that's very, very important in our community.
can you give me a little bit more insight? Because I think for many of the common person, they don't know how this thing actually works out. So, if a person visits a dispensary, owns a dispensary, what can we find in a dispensary?
So, a dispensary, you'll be able to buy flour, you'll be able to buy products that are made of cannabis. So, you'll be able to buy vapes, oils, sodas, edibles, gummies. So those are all the products. So anything that you can think of that is made from that flower will be available to you. There'll be people educating you on your purchase. So it's actually going to be a great experience, and most of all, safe, that you know what you're consuming. This is being tested in labs before it's put on a shelf.
Another great point that Indira makes is, when it comes to the wellness of this plant, right? There are a lot of oils, a lot of tinctures, there are creams and things that you could put on your body, for aches and pains that could be very helpful to people suffering from rheumatoid arthritis, and many other illnesses. People who suffer from cancer use cannabis as a way to alleviate their pain. So this is also a health and wellness plant that can be very helpful to those folks. And maybe they weren't aware of it. Maybe it's not something they thought about. But now when you go into these dispensaries, people are going to educate you on that and will be able to help you or maybe help a family member, right, that is going through some difficult times.
Yeah. From your assessment, I mean, you've got the boots on the ground. Talk to me about what you're seeing by way of public participation and interest, because we know that in the beginning there was a lot of criticism and pushback. Are we seeing more and more generated interest now in the cannabis industry locally?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think people are looking more and more into this. What I really also want to put out there is that let's get out of that mind frame that we should only look into doing dispensaries. There's so many other licensure categories in this industry. When it comes to cultivation, when it comes to manufacturing, distribution, consumption lounges, these are all the different types of licenses, and there are a few more micro licenses, but let's not say that only dispensaries offer us, because maybe that's what we're used to, that selling part. There's so many other components to this industry that we should look into as minorities, as Latinos, as Blacks, and really make a difference in those areas as well.
Yeah.
And to add to that, there's other ways that we can participate. It's not only going for a license. There's a lot of use for ancillary companies. So we'll be able to use cleaning services, cleaning companies, attorneys, contractors. So there's going to be so much opportunity that we can continue to keep in our communities and for the people that look like us, people of color, women, minorities. So ancillary companies is also another way to get into this industry.
Larry and Indhira, thank you so much. I think we got to leave it there, but very informative information. But before I go, please, if people want to tap into the Latino Cannabis Association, how do they go about doing that?
Indira, you
So
want
they
to take
can,
that?
sure. So they can reach us at our social media, which is Latino_cannabis.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. And thank you so much for being with us and great conversation. And hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care now. All right. We are taking a quick break. We do have more show coming up right after this.